It's the Sports Peninsula podcast coming up. The Detroit Lions got off to a hot 21-0 start in the Big Easy, but had to hold on and weather the Saints' comeback. The Lions ultimately prevailed 33-28. Next up, the Lions travel to the Windy City to face the Chicago Bears again. The Lions narrowly escaped Ford Field, scoring 17 points in the last 5 minutes to secure a win. We'll discuss what's been happening with the Lions over the last 4 games and what it will take to beat the Bears again next. Now here's your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Jasinski. Drew, it is Thursday, December 7th, and we're talking Lions football, and we're talking about the win in New Orleans. And first to join us to talk about that, Coach Andy Shields, Marine City Mariners. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well, Drew. Doing well. 62 years in the making, 61 years in the making. This record that we're enjoying here with the Detroit Lions. At times, it just doesn't feel like it. It feels like we're back with that reverse record, which we have seen before. But 9-3 it is, not 3-9. And here we are today to talk about it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you're here to join us. And also joining us is Detroit's finest, Justin Mariquin. Justin, how you doing?
Doing well. We're in the final home stretch of this NFL season, and like Coach just said, we're on the other side of things as opposed to being 3-9. We're 9-3. Looking to win a division and hopefully host a home playoff game. So it should be very exciting for Detroit and Lions fans all across the country.
Yeah, and Coach, you brought it up. They haven't been 9-3 since 1962, a little before our times. And we typically don't talk before our times too much because we go back a little ways, but that's going back, right? So it's been fun and it's been nerve-wracking too at the same time because you can see the greatness in this team. And then we're going to talk about the last 4 games. It's been a lot of inconsistency too. And it's a little scary because there's just so much promise here. You don't want to see it slip away. And it's hard not to feel that way when you're a Lions fan, trust me. But we'll jump into it, guys. 33-28 Lions win in New Orleans. Not an easy place to win. I think, guys, if you take away the start, they jump out to a 21-point lead, 21-0 in the first 7 minutes. And I don't believe that's happened in over 13 seasons that they jump out to a lead like that from what they showed on the broadcast. And then it got pretty tense. Coach, talk about that a little bit. That third quarter and even halfway through that second quarter, man, it's like, and I think Moose Johnson said it best, never take your foot off the gas. What did you see?
Well, it was a tale of 2 runs, really. It was almost like an NBA game in that regards. We got off to that 21-0 start, just like you had mentioned, Drew. Then the rest of the way, it was 28-12 Saints. So the Saints really, in many ways, dominated more of the game. And that's what's so shocking about it. Really, the majority of the game, the Saints played better. We kind of walked, we squeaked out of there. But like you said, the Superdome is very, very difficult place to play. The Saints, are an organization that plays very proud in there. We despite being in the best spot we have been in well over a half century.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel that way at times. And I don't know. I think the reason why maybe there's a little bit of angst there, we have been to the playoffs the last 62 years and lost in the first round.
Yeah.
I think some of us understand 14-3 is Schmorteen-3 if we didn't lose another game. If we lose in the first round of the playoffs, we're inching forward a little too slow for our liking there. And that's not necessarily fair because we can't control all things said and done. What we can control is, what we do during the regular season. And in the end, and I think you said it, Drew, in one of our texts, we look back at the season, this is a W. It's not barely a W. It's a W. And it counted on the right side of history. Let's keep moving forward down the field. It may not be pretty. We're not exactly going to be what we're going to be at our finest, I don't think. We're not quite there yet. But we're really moving into some uncharted waters here.
Yeah, exactly. And Justin, you mentioned the home stretch here. 5 games left. Lions 9-3, like Coach said. Your thoughts on this win?
Like Coach said, it's a tough place to play, the Superdome. I mean, it's notorious, for being a really hard place to play, and not only play, but to get out of there with a W. But like you both just said, it doesn't, the great Vin Diesel, Fast and the Furious, said to Paul Walker in the movie, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or you win by a mile. Winning is winning. And I think us Lions fans have to accept that it's not going to be pretty, and it probably won't be pretty down the stretch. But if you look across the league, we saw the dismantling of the Philadelphia Eagles at home get absolutely crushed by the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers have had theirs too, where they got, kind of shellacked too in the season as well. So there's not really one team, I think, and the Eagles was my last team that I just thought would just bury, other teams, and we saw that they can be clipped. So I just think we have to take these wins in stride. Yes, there's a lot to clean up on both sides of the football. It was great that they got out to a 3-score lead. It looked like they were on cruise control, and they did. And it looked like the play calling got conservative, a lot of 3-and-outs. New Orleans Saints, their defense started to rise up. Their offense, rose up to the same level as their defense. And we dug ourselves into a little bit of a hole, but we got out of there with a victory, and it was an away game. I mean, guys, in recent years, Lions have struggled with away games. That's always been a notorious thing. They've been good at home, whether it was the Silverdome or Ford Field, but away, it was like they were a completely different football team, not winning games. So I think we need to appreciate this. Like you said, we have 5 games left, so let's all just take a deep breath. Our team is who they are. They're not going to change. So let's ride this team until the wheels fall off, and hopefully that's, late into the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And the way to do that is this gentleman needs to keep performing at a high level. Jared Goff. And Coach, not as spectacular, not as fancy, not nearly the attempts, but I'm not sure that's all a bad thing. He was 16 to 25, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles lost, and a 117.6 QBR rating. That's more like what we see out of number 16. Talk about Jared Goff.
Yeah, frequency is not a concern. That's not a concern. Efficiency, that's what we're looking for. And Mr. Goff was very efficient. Jared Goff is exactly what he needed to be for us to be successful against the New Orleans Saints. No one is perfect. He miss a throw here or there? Yes, he did. He did. He's a precision passer. It is what he brings to the game. But I tell you what, Steph Curry misses 3-point shots. He didn't make every one of them. He didn't make every one of them. Shohei Ohtani is the finest baseball player on this planet. He does strike out. Okay, we're going to miss throws every once in a while. I'm the first guy jumping on. I'm probably on every text thread. That ball hasn't hit the turf yet, and I'm hitting the arrow. I've got it. I've got my complaint filed. But that's going to happen a little bit. Still well over 50% of his passes. 60% is more of this modern, since the passing it's a passer's league, right? In the RPO and the short, really high percentage pass is thrown quite a bit more these days. That's kind of that West Coast offense kind of principle. It really kind of added to the efficiency of quarterbacks that way. It certainly carried over for Jared Goff. That's the name of the game for him as well. If I tell you what, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the ball magnet. He's really the straw that stirs the drink in regards to the receiving game. But if Jared Goff is on, he is throwing it in high frequency and efficiency to Sam Laporta.
Yeah,
if those two are connecting, we're in good shape.
Exactly, and we'll talk about them in a little bit here, without question, because they both were integral parts of the win. Justin, what did you like best about Jared Goff's performance against the Saints? Because to Coach's point, efficiency is what it's about, and he was very efficient.
2 things. One, you see it up on the infographic, 0 interceptions, and the other stat we're looking at is no fumbles lost, and 2 touchdowns. Like you both said, it wasn't the greatest, but like Coach said, he just got the job done. And, Amon-Ra St. Brown coming through, like he's connecting with him, and Laporta, who he's really having a seamless rapport with. And I've heard Ben Johnson this week saying or him, Ben Johnson, the coaching staff are still trying to find ways to kind of trick Laporta or kind of throw stuff at him that he doesn't know, and he's picking it up. So this is a rookie we're talking about that's doing everything and more that they're asking him to do. So Jared Goff, when he's on with Laporta, and like Coach said, and you couple that with Amon-Ra St. Brown, watch out defenses, because this guy's going to have a good game. But Laporta has shown that he's a safety valve. He's kind of like, to me, he's like Mark Andrews in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, always bailing out, his buddies. So, and we saw that in New Orleans. So I can't say enough of good things about Laporta. But Goff on the road in a hostile environment, he came through.
Yeah, and before we get to the rest of the offense, I'll just add in, I think what Jared Goff's shown the league this year is he's got poise. He doesn't get rattled. And honestly, as a Lions fan, we weren't necessarily watching Rams games all the time necessarily on the West Coast. We'd see, if you have Red Zone, you'd see them. I mean, obviously the Lions play them once every 4 years, sometimes more frequently, but that's typically the schedule, how it works. And we didn't necessarily see Jared Goff all the time, but I mean, that one thing I didn't know about him is he does not get rattled. He's got a lot of poison, and he's got pocket presence. And I think, and then Coach, I think you said text this during the game. You gotta move. You gotta be able to move, though, and that's what scares, I think, everyone about Goff a little bit. Is can he scramble out of trouble and throw the ball and make plays? He did a couple of times in that game, but he struggled with that a little bit too. And I think teams know that, but it's easier said than done when you've got that offensive line in front of you too. I mean, you can talk about it, but it's hard to get to him.
No, absolutely, and really with Jared, that's all together. While those passes need to be in precise spots, even when we're throwing them away, because that's really his feat. Jared Goff's feet are his ability to get the ball away safely, out of bounds, towards a receiver, so we're not getting a grounding or a pick six by 30-some-odd-year-old defensive back that's going to be cut in a week. We got to make sure those are the things we have to avoid. He certainly did. He certainly did last weekend in Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly, Coach. And Justin, I'm gonna come back to you. David Montgomery, he's just Mr. Consistency. Gets his 13 to 16 carries. Got 18 in this last game, 56 yards and a touchdown. The Lions didn't have the ball a whole lot in this game, and the time of possession was pretty even. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they didn't have the ball a lot, but they were pretty efficient again. And David Montgomery made it happen. Talk about him.
Yeah, I talked about it last week. He's just a grinder. That's what he does. He's tough, physical, and every carry that, he handles on the Detroit Lions, he's going to make you pay. And we saw that. He only had 56 yards, but, he had a touchdown, and, he had some very ferocious runs that, he just did not go down on. So when you have that, and he's healthy, think about how many times he's gone down and we haven't had him. So it was just a bonus. So this guy in the backfield makes this offense go. And, of course, that sets up Jared Goff with his passing. So if Monty doesn't go, I said this last week, the whole offensive lines don't go. So I think he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I would agree. And, Coach, I'm going to put Jahmyr Gibbs up here, talk about the running game as a whole. He had 8 carries but 60 yards, didn't get a touchdown. One thing I did notice, and I think everyone did, they each caught only one pass. So they weren't really involved in the passing game. But as you can see, the Lions were able to get 116 yards between these two. Talk about Jahmyr Gibbs and the running game as a whole, Coach.
As far as the passing game, they'll scheme for that more, I think, with design screens and stuff. Again, because of the foot component for Jared Goff, you don't see a lot of RPO action with the Lions. That's not something that we'll do with Jared Goff. Now, Hendon Hooker, they could package and do some things and do that with. But there's a yin and yang. They're using Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs a lot more in pass pro last week too, and needing to do so. We're a little bit dinged up on our offensive line. Our offensive lines, they've got a few miles on them this year, and we're trying to get things, up to tip top again there. But both of them were extremely efficient. Jahmyr Gibbs they've got that yin yang kind of thing going. Dave Montgomery's the guy you feel real comfortable with getting the ball on first down, short yardage situations, the power stuff. You see things look like they're kind of hemmed in for 2 yards. It winds up 3-4, that kind of thing. With Jahmyr, they can really he's really like a different pitch in the repertoire of a pitcher, and that pitcher being Ben Johnson. He can kind of just hit and do things a little bit differently. Jahmyr showed if you doubled his work and got him up to, like, let's say 16 carries, would he have 120 yards? Probably towards it. So, both of these backs are guys that could be bell cows. But that being said, the efficiency of this team and what we want to truly be, I think by design, is a team that could have two guys touch the ball 10 plus times. You factor in their receptions. They just about did, because that would have been 9 touches for Jahmyr Gibbs. That would have been double. And Dave Montgomery had double-digit carries, so he was already over that as well. So I think that's another statistic too. If our top 2 backs, that being Dave Montgomery and Jamie Gibbs, if they touch the ball 10 times each, we're in good shape.
Yeah, definitely fair to say. And Lions obviously scored 33 points, big win. I read some local beat writers calling them actually lucky in that game. To me, there's no luck in sports. It's where hard work and opportunity meet, and that's how it works. I mean, if you've played any level of sports, you ought to know that. So I guess the Lions are pretty damn lucky that all this went against them for about 50 plus years, huh? Wow.
They dug a 6-foot hole over in the Superdome pretty doggone fast. They dug it pretty doggone fast and shoved them down in it.
Yep.
They just didn't lay down. That's all. They kept on scratching and clawing out of that hole, and kudos to them for doing it. But I mean, the luck of this thing was getting out to a 21-0 lead, which they had something to do with themselves.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're lucky if Graham Glasgow just happened to play an outstanding game at center when Frank Ragnow got hurt, and Sorsdahl was very, very fortunate that he stepped in the right guard out of the blue and was able to play pretty decent football. Yeah, that's not luck, guys. That's not luck. So Lions fans, no, this is a damn good football team. Let's appreciate them for what they are in 2023. Bob Quinn ain't the GM no more. Okay. Wayne Fonts is not the coach anymore. I love Wayne, but we didn't win with him. Although they won the one playoff game. This is not the Lions of old. It's a new team, new regime. So this team wins in different ways. I get nervous too, guys. I mean, we're all like that. I mean, right? We expect that. You want that when's the trap door going to open? When are we going to fall through it? And this team just keeps winning. Now they're 9-3, but again, I would have, if not for the next guy we're going to talk about, to me, Graham Glasgow was getting the game ball. I thought that was tremendous to be able to go in there, drop a hat. Frank Ragnow goes down, and you step in there and you play a hell of a football game. That guy's been doing it all year, man. What a signing by Brad Holmes. But the game ball ultimately went to this gentleman, Sam Laporta. And Coach, I know we all talked about him earlier, but talk about this performance. 9 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, Sam Laporta, truly his best game, and he's had some good ones this year.
I mean, rookie tight end stuff right there, and that's pretty amazing. Those are amazing statistics. And 9 for 140 for it doesn't matter. That's just a great game. Okay, that's just a great game. That's like Desmond Bain's 49-point performance that he had last night against the Pistons over at LCA.
Ooh.
That's like scoring 4 goals in a game
Mhm.
in hockey. That's like a 3 home run game, or hitting near the cycle and going 5 for 5 or something like that. This is just a jackpot game. And like I said before, if Sam Laporte is putting up a stat line like this, it's almost going to be a given that the Lions are winning. It's almost going to be a given, because you have to understand, if he's doing this kind of damage, it's going to be adjusted to. It's going to be adjusted to, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to now be coming underneath open on everything in his slant game, and then we have the screen game opening up for Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery, and then we have Josh Reynolds being able to come up with a big snap. And then we have J-Mo that can be an accent and a home run threat. And here we go. There's the Lions passing game tooth and nail. And oh, by the way, we're a running team.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, if Sam Laporte is doing this, do you see the synergy it creates for the entire offense? It's a magical thing. Special player. I think when we were talking about our draft previews last year when we covered tight ends, it was something like 83% of the offense went through Sam Laporta last year for Iowa.
Yeah.
Look at what they talked about the Iowa offense this year, and look what they were. Did they cross the ball over the 40-yard line in the game?
I don't believe so.
No. I mean, he was the only thing they had going on last year. Without him this year, they were dead to rights. So I mean, that was big stuff.
That's a really good point, Coach. And another good thing to look at, I mean, as good as TJ Hawkinson is and was in Detroit, they have not missed him. And this is a big reason why. Number 87, he's been great.
He was tight end number 2 for TJ Hawkinson.
Yep.
I mean,
and who was tight end?
Those are 2 premier football players. And then Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson was tight end number 2 for Noah Fant.
It's amazing.
Noah Fant was tight end number 2 for George Kittle.
Oh my goodness, amazing.
I mean, this is a universe. I mean, that's big stuff. I mean, they trot 2 tight ends out there like nobody's better business. That is tip of the hat to the University of Iowa, and I'm dead serious. That's impressive.
Hey, I mean, honestly, they're a quarterback and either a wide receiver or a running back away from being very, very tough to play. They're already tough because their defense is always tough. But yeah, that's what they've been lacking. They just didn't have that go-to offensive player and really kind of struggle at quarterback. Could McNamara have made a difference? He would have helped. Yeah, absolutely.
And Eric All, the old Michigan tight end who was doing really good work there. Yes, I mean, they definitely would have been a much different team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach, you mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. Justin, I know you did too. Talk about him. Now, he only caught 2 passes, but for 49 yards, but one of them, I believe it was the first touchdown of the game, the 25-yarder. Once again, he's contributing, always contributing, whether it's with a 100-yard game and or touchdowns. This guy is the offense. And Coach, you mentioned it too. Justin, talk about St. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, he only had 2 catches for 49 yards, but once again, he's finding the end zone. Crossing the pylon there. He's just dangerous. Like Coach just said about Sam Laporta, same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think they were so focused in game adjustments to Sam Laporta that they forgot about St. Brown. Or he just finds a way. He's a really good route runner. He's very slippery. And he can catch the ball like nobody's business in the NFL, and the guy just gets it done. I mean, yeah, that's like a down game, us Lions fans would say, but he still produced. He got on the board and scored a touchdown, and the 2 catches that he made were huge. So that's all you can ask for an NFL wide receiver, and that's a pretty good problem to have. That we're talking about, oh yeah, he had a down game when our rookie tight end exploded. And, J-Mo, too, getting in on the action. So we have a lot of weapons, and I think we need to be more grateful as Lions fans because we have a lot of firepower on this offense. And Amon-Ra St. Brown proved that once again. He's Mr. Reliable, and that extension that's going to be coming up, this offseason, Mr. Holmes, I probably already knows, got to pay the man, and he's worth every single penny.
Yeah, on many levels. I mean, what he brings on the field is a given. What he brings off the field in the locker room is you can't put a price tag on those kind of intangibles, and that work ethic rubs off on folks. And you can see that's the kind of character they want on this team: hard-working guys that can make plays, that are willing to get their hands dirty and make it happen, and can handle adversity. They don't crumble under the pressure. And they certainly, they've seen that. And like Coach said, they dug a 6-foot hole pretty quick, but man, the Saints just would not lie down. They would not do it. We've seen it a lot this year. They're fighting for a division crown over there in New Orleans in the South, and that's a division that's still up for grabs. So the Lions they're going to face every team this year in that division. They swept that division, I believe. Now they're 4-0 on the NFC South. So that's awesome. But yeah, it was a must-win game in the sense that if you want to not only make the playoffs but make some noise in the playoffs, you've got to have home field. You've got to win a conference game, and they did so. Especially after losing to Green Bay and on Thanksgiving, that's a tough one. That was a tough loss, and we'll talk about that shortly. But the rest of this team, you brought up Williams, Justin. He only caught one pass for 11 yards, but he had that one double reverse. And Coach, I wanted to touch on this with you. Talk about that double reverse there, because when Williams turned the corner, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon.
Well, I mean, those are the types of things that, defenses are going to adjust to. And it's going to be a game that Ben Johnson's going to be able to play. Is that when, there's going to be people they're going to be looking for number 9. They're going to be looking for number 9. Because at this rate, we're still trying to find, ways to invent to get him the ball in space or in downfield situations or in wide open situations, so he can just, exhibit his elite speed and just beat everybody. Yeah. And as far as being a meat and potatoes player, Jameson Williams is still kind of trying to find that niche yet. But I tell you what, that double reverse, I mean, if he has the ability, once he turned that corner, if there was any kind of a lane to hit and there was a pure form one to do it, he was gone. He was gone. And, it's going to be things like that on the reverse, jet sweeps. They could, put him in motion and pitch it to him and do in these kinds of things. Speed and space things. He may not be a high frequency touch guy quite yet. I'm not so sure that's what he'll ever really be. I think he'll eventually kind of replace Josh Reynolds in the receiving core, and we'll see more targets towards Jameson Williams that way. But he's a home run threat. We talked about the last 2 receivers. One guy that, typically is a much more high volume, high frequency producer in Amon-Ra with only the two receptions. One of them was a touchdown. Jameson Williams had 2 touches for 30 yards. One of them was a touchdown. Yeah. What did we win by? Less than a touchdown. Those were huge plays. Those were huge plays by both of those gentlemen. And, Jameson Williams, he's just got to continue to grow as a player. He's very, very raw and green that way. I think there is character there. I think he's a good kid. He's very well intended. I know that the game before, the Sunday before Thanksgiving in that game, that night he was out giving out turkeys and food to families on the west side that evening of the game. So, I mean, this is a good kid. He's got a good heart. Things are coming together. And I tell you what, this fan base wants to love him because in many, many ways, he's very, very Detroit. But, he had a massive impact in that game.
Oh, yeah, he certainly did. And Justin, Khalif Raymond, he only had 1 catch for 9 yards. Josh Reynolds only had 1 catch for 12 yards, but that 12-yard catch was a big one. Like Coach was saying, the touches weren't there, but the results were there. Reynolds got a key first down in those last 4 minutes of that game and really helped solidify the Lions being able to shut the door on this one. But talk about, in your view, Justin, the offense as a whole in this game, how they performed.
I think They left some scores on the table. I'm gonna say that left some drives out there for sure. But overall, I mean, you really can't ask for anything better. On the road, the coach is saying, they're facing adversity. Getting the ball back, kind of late in the game. You need that first down, to kind of seal the game and get it out of reach for the New Orleans Saints. And a guy like Josh Reynolds, I think I said this last week. I think I've been saying it many times during the course of this season that, he just pops up. He's reliable. That's kind of the guys that you want on your football team, especially on the offensive side. He doesn't necessarily need to catch 8-9 balls a game and have 60 to 70 yards receiving and a couple scores or one touchdown. You get that key first down. Same with Khalif Raymond. He does it too on special teams as well. These are role players that kind of just bring everything to fruition on the offensive front and get you a win, which is what they did. And like you just said, they swept the NFC South. They're 4-0. That's impressive. I think that's very impressive. And going on the road again, this week, they've just been proven that, they could play away and they could get into a hole. If anything, they have some data on this game is that, they got up early, looked like they were going to run away with it, looked like it was going to be like 28, 35 nothing or 35-7. And it did, it kind of fell apart a little bit. And now they know that, hey, we don't want to see it happen again where we get down like that. But we know if we do, we have the fortitude and the mental aspect to come back from that and win these games on the road. So I think that's pretty good, feedback as a football team that they have moving forward.
Yeah, great points. And really, when we talk about the Lions, and let's talk about the defensive side of the football now, like you said, Justin, winning on the road is so important. The Lions have 3 losses. 2 of them are at Ford Field. So, I mean, the only game that they lost on the road was up against Baltimore. Now they played an extra game at home, this season, but the remaining 5 games, 3 of them are on the road. And, and we'll get into that shortly. But I think what we're seeing, Coach, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, the Lions, they're getting out, they're scoring a lot of points. Nearly every game this season, they've scored a lot of points. And that can make it easy on a defense at times because sometimes it makes the offense one-dimensional, but it also can make things very difficult. What are you seeing right now with this defense, the way they seem to be struggling, but at the end of the day, they ultimately will keep the Lions in it and they're winning the majority of their games. But what are you seeing?
Well, and to your point, Drew, and that's a hell of a point. You bring up a very, very, very good point. Typically, the teams that have the highest octane offenses do have defenses that can struggle a little bit because they're just out there more. The offense scores and is off the field. And our offense is really at its most effective when we're scoring points and we're also possessing the ball, into the 35 to 40 minute range. Not the 27-minute range. That's a statistic that we need to watch because in this organization, folks, if those of us that are so kind to watch us, we need to improve defensively the most. That is a player situation. And you know what? We no one's calling for anybody that you're at the wrong podcast. If you want to, if it's all about calling for heads, because we will only do that when it's just at that moment. And it's likely to probably happen. And that's not saying that we are anybody special, but I guarantee you if that happens here, it's going to probably happen. I'm not so sure that's going to happen here. But, there are times where, Coach Glenn's stuff just seems to be it's one facet is not aiding the other very well. And what that is for the most part is our pass rush has not generated enough pressure to support our secondary. And our secondary as of late, schematically and technically, has been so soft and cushiony that it doesn't allow our pass rush to generate very much. They kind of are just, really restrictive of one another. The run defense has been very good. 111 yards, okay. That's a little bit more than we've typically yielded, but we've been pretty good there. That took a massive hit with Aleem McNeil being lost for the season with a knee injury.
Yeah.
So getting back to this pass game, getting the pass rush to support the secondary, getting the secondary to support the pass rush. We're not having that right now. There are some player personnel situations that have revealed themselves, I think, a bit. The contract structure of those players is of such where it's okay. I think they're likely to be replaced in the 2024 regular season. And then some. But this is where the Lions are lacking a little bit. And this is probably where we aren't quite to the echelon where we want to be. We're not one player away either. So, this is where, time will tell a bit. But I'll just, end my little diatribe here with offense wins games. Defense wins championships.
No truer words have been spoken, Coach. That's a mantra throughout sports, and there's no doubt it still applies here. And Justin, what I've seen is, and Coach touched on it, there's got to be some personnel moves, but and it's never an excuse for losses or any adversity, although it's a fact of life in the NFL. Injuries happen. This team's without Emmanuel Mosley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They were without Anzalone last week. And now Aleem McNeil. That's James Houston. So there's 5 players that get heavy rotation or nearly all the defensive snaps, and they're without them. Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of that too. But talk about your thoughts on this defense and what you're seeing over the last 4 or 5 games here.
Well, it's very interesting because I ran across some data that was on X, this afternoon, of a certain sports journalist pointing out the fact that aside from a few categories, and I'm going to throw some truth juice out there to, some Lions fans and some SOLers that are out there, that the Lions are actually better defensively, besides a few categories, than the Philadelphia Eagles, if you want to believe that or not. So you're starting to see that too. Like, I was under the same guys too of, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're the pinnacle. They still have a good defense. They have a better pass rush, pressure wise, like Coach pointed out. That's kind of the biggest thing to me. Our guys in the secondary, Cam Sutton, Joseph, Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph, they can't cover for 5 to 6 seconds. I mean, not anybody in the league can do that. So I'm seeing a lack of pass rush and the pressure. But like you just pointed out, hopefully, I think I heard James Houston said he's hoping to come back before the playoffs. And I know C.J. Gardner-Johnson is working his tail off to come back. He wants to come back, way before the playoffs and, get inserted back into this defense. So I think for right now with those, players that we're missing, we're just kind of ragtagging it right now, and we're still in it. We're still 9-3. Some of us Lions fans are talking like we're not going to make it, or we only won 3 to 4 games.
There's Lions saying that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
they poured out the Kool-Aid a little bit.
They're waiting for the shoe to drop, and that's okay. Yep. I mean, they shouldn't be naysayed for that. I mean, we're waiting for the shoe to drop. Yep. We have one thing that only one fan base is going to get. We want it. We now can talk about that here.
Yeah,
we want the Lombardi Trophy.
Yep. I mean, let's face it. The NFL it's a grind. Yeah, it's ugly. It's tough. Injuries freaking happen. Not one team makes it, all the way just unscathed. If you do, God bless you. But that's just not the way it works out. NFL is a grind. It's a tough season. Things happen. Players get hurt. I mean, look, we just lost Aleem McNeil, who made tremendous strides this season, I thought. So we just got to, next man up mentality, go back to the drawing board, Aaron Glenn and company, let's get it done. So, like I said, we got 5 games left. let's just keep chipping away one game at a time, one, series at a time, offensive series, defensive series. And, let's just get this thing done. Where our mission is the playoffs right now. That's our focal point right now.
Here's a quick question, and there's an article in the Detroit News about it today. But I was thinking about the last couple as soon as McNeil got hurt. If you're Brad Holmes' coach, are you trying to find Ndamukong Suh's number?
Why? I mean, that's a name. I mean, I don't know if he's the best fit for the Detroit Lions. I don't know if he's a Detroit Lion type guy. Is Ndamukong Suh a grit type guy? Is does he want to play here? That's a name. They did make a signing. 15-year veteran that were his third team in 15 years. I mean, the other two stops he had were about 6-7 years apiece. That sounds like a good player too. And Tyson Alawanu.
Yep.
I mean, this is the time to sign those 1 year remainder contracts on a veteran that may be out there. Marcus Peters, to me, is a name I would pursue above Ndamukong Suh's, because we've seen Marcus Peterson have a pick six against the Detroit Lions at Ford Field this year. For whatever reason, he's cut. Now they had to sometimes work to keep him out of the stands at the LA Coliseum before the SoFi was built, because some of the fans, I mean, he got into a Crip's face, a Crip. And he went up into the stands and beefed with him a little bit. So I mean, this is a tough guy. We got to be careful too. What's he going to bring? Is he going to make us an over-emotional team? That would be my concern about Marcus Peters. Is Ndamukong Suh going to come in here and buy in, or is he going to be kind of like he was his first run around here, which was about gaining as much promotional, compensation as he could possibly acquire? So I'm not just jumping at anybody, and I'm not throwing money out in any free agent market. That's not what we need to do. We need to build this thing long term. That sometimes is not going to be that sexy, but it's going to have a lot of breadth and beef to this roster, so that when we have injuries, we can endure, and we will have stars emerge out of our pools, as we have seen in our day 3 picks and day 2 picks. So I'm not. If they sign Ndamukong Suh, that means he's a fit. That means they've vetted him out, and he's the type of a guy that we want around here, and that would be awesome to see again. He'll get a huge round of applause, be big in Ford Field. But if they haven't, I'm not faulting the Lions for doing that. He may not be that guy.
Yeah, and I agree with that attitude. That's how we really felt about in the draft, right? With Carter, it's like, okay, he's going to be there. If Brad Holmes picks him, we're in. Yeah, I mean,
what are we seeing already?
Yeah, exactly.
He goes in Walmart's and or wherever it was with his girlfriend, and they start throwing things and their knapsacks, and try to make runs for the door. Oh, I didn't think there was a problem.
Yeah, times are tough, right? Times are tough. Hey, Justin, I know you were definitely high on Marcus Peters. You think that's the answer this year? Do you think that's what they need to do?
At this point, yes. I've liked him ever since he was in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. Like Coach said, a little bit of an edge guy on the fringe, aggressive style of play. But I think right now, and I know it's because of the lack of the pass rush too, but Cam Sutton doesn't seem to have those same problems that Jerry Jacobs is having right now. So I would love to see Marcus Peters get inserted into that starting role, have Jacobs be the backup or come in special package situations. As far as Suh, I'm with the same accord with Coach. If we sign him, then I know Holmes and Campbell and company, vetted him out, and he is a good fit. But, he's been doing this thing the past few years where he waits till after like week 8. And, the headlines are saying recently he wants to sign with a contender. Well, if you look, at the contenders, he probably won't go back to Miami because he already played there. He played with Philly last year, landed in the Super Bowl. He has a Super Bowl ring with the Buccaneers. They're not in contention. Playoffs, yes, but not contenders. Then you have Kansas City, so he might sign, with them. Who knows? But if he does, great. But I'm not sitting here going, I hope we sign Ndamukong Suh. He's going to be the answer, to our prayers and our defensive woes. Come on, he's not the same player that he was when we drafted him or when he even played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that he was still effective. So I'm looking at Marcus Peters. That's really like the only guy that's out there that I think that you could insert him in our defense and be a difference maker.
Yeah, no, great comments, guys. And in Holmes we trust. That's what we need to do. So there are names out there. Yeah, I'm sure Stu and Peters both could help, but to what extent, we don't know. So we got to trust the guys that are getting paid to analyze this stuff, right? It's fun to talk about, but I certainly want. If the opportunity is there, I certainly wouldn't balk at them going that route. I actually would prefer that they would do that, which they've been doing, because not only did they just, they've already made a couple signings. We talked about Bruce Irvin. He played his first game, and he may have ended Derek Carr's season with that hit.
Immediate impact.
Yeah, and I understand the rule. I know, Coach, growing up, we were praised for hits like that. now it's a penalty. Now
someone needs to tell Mr. Irvin you can't play the game like that anymore.
Wow. I was shaking my head because I'm like, I'm not. It's like, I'm not endorsing $4 a gallon for gasoline, but it is what it is, and I'm not endorsing that it's a penalty, but unfortunately that is what they're calling. I don't know. But it is, it happened. But I do like that he got to the core. That's what he's paid to do, and I'm sure we'll see more of that. But guys, let's pivot now. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears. This is a team the Lions beat a few weeks ago. Back in Week 11, they won 31-26. Had to score 17 points in the last 5 minutes and 6 seconds to do so in Detroit. Justin Fields had returned for that game. This now we're going to Soldier Field. So a division game, it's on the road. It's a division game. You got to win it. And I'm going to throw out some other, not stats, but just scenarios out there. You got the Vikings at the Raiders this week. Vikings could win that game. Might not, but they got a chance at it. Packers go to the Giants on Monday night. The way the Packers have been playing, Packers probably win that game. So then Dallas is playing Philly. And I personally think Dallas is going to win that game. I think they're going to upset the Eagles. And the Niners are hosting the Seattle Seahawks. 49ers probably win that game. So when you look at it that way, the Lions got to win this game. The Lions are playing a 4-8 team, and they're a 4-8 team. As well as they played Detroit, they're a 4-8 football team. But, Coach, what do the Lions need to do differently to not just win this game, but to win it with not as much drama and not needing heroics?
Defend the running quarterback.
Okay, yeah, that's a good step.
The one thing they don't do.
Yeah,
and having worked the game at Ford Field, the comeback game, the Bears play different offensively than the vast majority of the teams in the league. They are so much more centered on zone quarterback play and the ride and Justin Fields making a read or making a long ride kind of a thing to where he eventually keeps it. We have to conceptually and schematically take care of this. That is not just a player issue. That is a scheme issue. If it's solved and we're making Justin Fields throw, we are fine. It's supposed to be inclement, windy, cold, and perhaps precipitation at Soldier Field on Sunday. We make him throw the football when we want him to throw the football and do not allow him to run. We are going to win this football game. Our run game style works much better in poor field conditions and in poor weather conditions than the Chicago Bears style does. So this is going to be this is a black and blue division, Norris division, old time Northern NFL later in the season type game with the weather, and it's not going to be a real pretty score. But we need to defend Justin Fields. That needs to be. If we don't, I don't think we win, because our offense, it's going to be sloppy out there. There's going to be some drops. There's going to be some missed throws. There's going to be some slippage. Our running, we may not be able to hit home runs. But if we can, they will possess the football more than we will, and it's going to be a problem. They'll have field position all game, and it's going to be a huge struggle if we do not defend Justin Fields on the run.
Yep, you made some great points, Coach. And Justin, I'll throw it to you. And like Coach said, with time of possession, the Bears doubled them up. They had about 40 minutes to the Lions 20 in that game as well. And I saw in that game, the Bears really took it to them the first drive. They didn't even have a third down on that drive. They just ran it right down their throats. The Lions kind of, I would say, adjusted. I won't call it toughened up, but adjusted, made adjustments. And the Bears still were able to score some points, but in the second half they definitely had slowed down on their side, and I don't maybe they played conservatively too to try and kill the clock and hope they could win that game. It kind of looked that way, but your thoughts on this game, Justin? What's it going to take again for the Lions not just to win this game, but to do it in a little more comfortable fashion?
Well, one thing being, like Coach just said, Justin Fields, Justin Fields, Justin Fields. We have to plan for this guy because they're going to run the heck out of him. And like Coach said, if we make him pass when we want to make him pass, we will be effective in winning this football game. With the addition of Bruce Irvin and company, him getting, to the quarterback, the last week in New Orleans, hopefully does the same thing at Soldier Field coming this Sunday. He does that, then the Chicago Bears will have to have that oh crap moment. We can't just run this RPO crap or just have Justin Fields take off at will. We're actually going to have to game plan a little bit in-game game planning, which is hard, to do in the NFL. So I think if we disrupt Fields and get him off his rhythm and then get ready on our offensive side, get ready to play smash mouth football. Gibbs, Montgomery, and then you sprinkle in J-Mo in there and Amon-Ra St. Brown running the football. I'm talking James Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown because, like Coach said, there might be some inclement weather. It might be, your old school style, just nasty football. So get ready. The guys up front, offensive line, get ready to fire off that ball and just shove it down their throats. And, like you said too, passes will probably be dropped. If it's wet out, whatnot, Goff, the ball might get away from him. That's okay. Live to fight another down. Short-term memory loss, forget about it, go back to the next play. But that's what it's going to take, and it's going to take two special teams as well. Riley Patterson, I'm sure a field goal or two will have to be made in this game. It's going to be tough with the weather, but we need him to come through. Jack Fox as well, pin them down deep and make them go 90-plus yards, 85-plus yards to score. So if we do all those things, and the one big thing is getting on Justin Fields, getting home to Justin Fields, and disrupting that offense, because we're better suited to in-game plan or make adjustments than the Chicago Bears are, because it starts and ends with Justin Fields. With us, we have so many weapons on the offense. And I didn't even talk about Sam Laporta. So yeah, we got a better shot. So I think with that, and the biggest thing, I believe, because it might come down to a field goal or two, Riley Patterson, we need him to come through on Sunday.
Yeah, everyone's got to be ready. Everyone's got to bring their A game. Everyone's got to bring their A game in this one. And Coach, I'm with you. I'll be honest with you. I was toying and trying to figure out, do I think they'll win this game? Yeah, I do think they'll win it. I know they can win it. There's a significant chance they won't win it if they continue to play the way they've been playing the last 4 or 5 games. Defensively, they really haven't had a solid performance since the Monday night game against the Raiders. Now, offensively, they've been better, but again, never take your foot off the gas. If they're able to get in front of this team, make them one-dimensional. I mean, if the Lions are able to move the ball effectively and get a 2-score lead on this team, look out, because the Bears have to run the ball, like you said, Coach, and then Justin, you touched on it too. And it's like if you could take that element away, you forced, and then it's inclement weather on top of it, it's going to be big trouble. But we'll go around and see who we think is going to win. I'll start. I'm going to pick the Lions. I've only picked against them one time this year, and that was Week 1. I didn't think they'd beat the Chiefs. I was wrong. I haven't been Nostradamus exactly in picking Lions games this year, but I'm okay with that. I'm 8-4. I'll live with it. Actually, I'm 7-5 because I picked them to beat Seattle. But what are you gonna do? But anyways, bottom line, the line it's absolutely a must-win game. They've got to do their homework and study the film. They know they know how they're getting gashed. They know what they got to do, but they've got to figure out the scheme to stop. And Coach, you've touched on it more than a few times during our reviews in our chalk talks. Is they have no protection on that outside contain when the defensive lineman, specifically Hutch, is spinning inside and trying to get penetration that way. You've got to have a linebacker or a cornerback that's there, even a safety, to come in and step up and make a play there. But to me, the Lions need to be more aggressive defensively. I'm not saying bring the house every down, but I'm saying get creative with your blitzes, zone blitzes. When they've done that, they did a lot against the Raiders. It was effective. They did blitz more in the second half against the Saints, and it worked. It did work. It slowed them down a bit. They've got whatever they can do to disrupt Justin Fields is going to be the difference. So I'll say the Lions are going to win this one 21-17. But I tell you what, and any missteps in performance like they've had in the last few weeks on the defensive side specifically, and we could be disappointed. But I'm going to stick with them, Coach. Who do you got?
Well, I have been probably one that has tended to get critical right when I start seeing a few things go a little bit, awry in these games, just because, I guess my understanding is, that winning's not always the happiest thing in the world. It's hard, it's tough, it's mean, and you kind of have to be that way, and you have to be expectant, and there are certain things that just can't be negotiated. And some of those things seem like they're being negotiated a little bit right now. And I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about the scheme of our defense. We have played with fire. The Chicago Bears had us beat at home. Okay. We lost to the Green Bay Packers, who beat Kansas City, and they're playing very, very well. And they end up only beating us by 7, but that was a 2-score game. Mm-hmm. And New Orleans, outside of the first 7 minutes when they just were absolutely in need of smelling salts, they were just out of it. Yeah. Beat us 28-12. We've not played well these last 3 weeks. Will the chickens come home to roost off of Lake Michigan on Sunday? I am going to say no. We will win that football game. I am looking at a score of 24-14, that we will have answers, that the Bears will score a couple of touchdowns, but the Lions will possess the ball longer this time, and will do enough on offense to have a multiple score lead the majority of the game, and the Lions will win by 10.
I like that. I would play very nicely. Justin, how do you see it?
I think it's going to be just a knockdown, drag out, battle in the trenches. Justin Fields, let's just face it, the Chicago Bears are going to run with him till their wheels fall off. But I think in the end, the Lions have enough juice, to get it done. Like I said, just a few moments ago, our offensive weapons are far more superior, I think, than the Chicago Bears. But we eke out another close victory on the road. I say the Lions win 24-20.
That would play nicely as well. I like that. Yeah. I think we're all in agreement there. 24 points on offense, though. That's the 20 points or more on offense, and that's kind of been the key for this team. Justin, thank you for joining us from Studio 54 today. I like the Honolulu Light Show. Appreciate that. We always got something up our sleeves here on the Sportsman Slip podcast. And actually, what you don't realize, folks, that's actually Morse code for "Let's Go Lions."
Right.
But I like it. It looks good. Hey, for Coach Andy Shield, the Marine City Mariners, and Detroit's finest Justin Miracle, my name is Drew. Go Lions, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.